Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Simeon Morrow Public Speaking Presentations, Vienna Live with Simeon Morrow, and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please turn off your camera and microphone or go to the LinkedIn Live video feed, the links to which I'll now place in the chat room. For a better experience, please turn off your microphone and set your video to gallery view. This show thrives on participant contributions, and all participants are encouraged to actively participate in this webinar by asking questions and making comments. To do so, please either write in the chat room, raise your hand, or turn on your microphone and say hi, and I'll be delighted to include your perspective in the conversation. Tonight, our featured guest is Dan Pugach, a drummer and Grammy-nominated composer.
Of autumn hair with ivory skin and eyes of emerald green. Your smile is like the breath of spring. Your voice is soft like summer rain, and I cannot compete with you, Jolene. He talks about you in his sleep. There's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene. And I can easily understand how you could easily take my man, but you don't know what he means to me, Jolene. Jolene, 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 Jolene. I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take him just because you can. Please don't take him just because you can.
Dan, welcome.
Hey everyone. Thanks for playing that. How are you?
Hi, Dan. So that was Dan's Jolene, arrangement of Jolene. So Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became a drummer and then a composer.
Wow. So I grew up in Israel and I moved to the States in 2006. I started playing drums when I was around 7 years old. My older brother is a violinist, and he had a little kit, a drum set up, and I started banging on boxes and dishes and pots and pans, and then I upgraded to a drum kit with the condition that I would have to take lessons, which I didn't want at the time. And then after lessons, I started taking it seriously and went to jazz school, jazz program in high school, and then went to the Army as a drummer because I had to, I had to go do my mandatory in Israel. So I played drums for the Air Force Band, and then I moved to the States and pursued a degree in music at Berkeley, and then a master's at City College in New York, and then I stayed in New York.
And Dan, so give us a little idea of about where you grew up. So we don't normally think about Israel as a place that from which a lot of jazz drummers come. So what kind of, how did you first get acquainted with this music and all that? Was the drumming you were doing when you were 10 years old, was that already jazz drumming, or how did you get into this this jazz drumming thing?
Wow, good question. It's funny. It's like if you say Israel, you imagine the Middle East in the middle of the desert with camels and nothing there, and you're not far off by a lot. But Tel Aviv is a big city, kind of like New York. Tons of art and coffee shops and music and venues, and we have a bunch of jazz festivals, and we have a lot of arts and culture. Not so many spots to play, not a lot of clubs, but a lot of musicians, and they start very early for some reason. There are a lot of programs that go into elementary schools and introduce music and instruments and jazz and orchestra and everything. It's very, very, they start very early. It's kind of like a recent thing. It's a new thing from the past maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 years that they start doing that. Anyway, I grew up listening to rock and whatever was on the radio, rock and pop and whatever was around. And I got into jazz only when I was in high school and I had to play jazz in an ensemble. And as a rock drummer, I thought, oh, this would be cake. Well, you just got to play the cymbal and look busy. And little by little, I realized there's a lot more to it. And I transferred from a rock teacher to this like jazz guru named Arale Kaminsky, who's still around, and he got me. And he said, "You got to get a Miles Davis record and a Charlie Parker." And so that got me into playing jazz, listening to it, practicing it, and playing with other people, and learning the language and the vocabulary and how to listen and how much to listen.
So
and
today
I've been pursuing that. I've been pursuing more of the performance side of things. So when I went to school in the States, both at Berkeley and City College, I was not going for composition or arranging. It was never on my list, really. I was trying to be a working drummer. I wanted to work in New York and play jazz and play whatever, because I like a lot of styles, not just jazz. So composition came much later.
And maybe can you, just for our interest, because I know you've got a splendid drum kit right next to you, can you show us the difference? What's a rock drummer mean and what's a jazz drummer?
Do you want me to show you, or you want me to explain?
Please show.
I mean, I can show. Yeah, I have a kit set up. I can show you the different type of work that I do. I'll just go to the.
So we are in Dan's studio where
Yeah,
it
you're
all happens.
in your studio.
Has a drum kit right there, ready for us to enjoy. And here comes the master himself.
Hey, so to your question, you want to see a rock drums thing? That would be that. Last night I had to work in a private event, and that's all I played. For hours, just disco and and then jazz is a whole different story. It's like you play swing and you play softs and you play dynamics and all that beautiful stuff.
So a lot of finesse, a lot more nuance.
Yeah, a lot more dynamics and nuance and space. It can sound arbitrary to a listener who's not aware of the form, maybe, or of the language, or of the songs. But it's not. It sounds like it's all improvised, but it's not always. It's more of an interpretation of the beat and the song, rather than just a random, arbitrary improvisation.
And Dan, maybe tell us now about your process. Tell us about what it means when you're there. We never get to see a drummer this close. Tell us, how is it that you then are working on a composition, or that you are practicing, quote unquote? I don't know if you have like a book that you read out of, like piano exercises, or what is it that you do? What's your process? How do you relate to that instrument you're sitting at?
Wow. I have to say, my keyboard skills are not good enough to be able to play and execute stuff that I hear, right? Like I do on the drums. So the drum set are more my vehicle to map out either the concept, if I'm writing a song or if I'm writing an arrangement for someone or for myself. I sit around the drums to map out the form, the climax, the whole arc of the arrangement. I can do it here because the drums usually help shaping the intensity level. It shapes the whole direction of the arrangement. And so if I change the beat, if I change the intensity level, if I change the dynamics, if I change the group, if I lay out completely, that gives me a lot of options. And so the thing with that is also, because the options are endless, it helps me to ground myself, and not just like sit and stare at a blank page. It gives me a little bit of a framework within to work. So I say, for example, I'm going to take a meter, like a time signature, and stay with that time signature for a minute and try to see what comes out. And then if I hear a bass line in my head on top of that, then now I can start layering ideas. And if those ideas are good, I try not to judge when I write or when I play or when there's time to like create and then time later to judge it. If it's crap, I'll toss it. But it's better to write something that's it's better to just like let the ideas flow and not judge them before they're out, And so I would sit at the drums, and let's say I can give you an example right now. I'll try to do something in 4/4. Why not? Everything I do is in 7 and 5 and 9 and 11. So now let's try to do 4/4. I'll do 4/4 swing for like 2 seconds. I'll see maybe something will come out of it.
And Dan, is there a tune we can keep on our heads? Can you give us a well-known tune or something that we can think about while you're playing?
Yeah, maybe something like Equinox, that John Coltrane piece. It's like a slow minor blues. It's a 12-bar minor blues. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe something like that, something chill. I can lay the groove and then maybe go to the keys and then start adding parts. Yeah.
Okay.
So already just playing one chorus of a blues in my head, I'm starting to think of different hits I want to incorporate later. So now I'm already thinking I have a chunk of beef, like meat, the meat of the arrangement. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the more intricate stuff later, and I'll build into it, and then end there, or do like a recap and go back. So just 2 seconds on the drums, I'm already, I feel oriented. I'm like, whatever. So I start coming up with different hits, different rhythm stuff. I'm not yet married to anything I play. Those are just like rhythmic figures that sound like they can go over anything. So below that, I can add a bass line. You know, now I'm imagining, okay, it's a bari sax or bass trombone, and I'm starting to fill this thing up with stuff that I can probably, a lot of the stuff I can get rid of later, which is the best part of arranging, which is like you start taking stuff out that doesn't belong or that's clogging the melody, or if it's a vocal arrangement, it might get in the way. But at least I'm putting everything I have in my head out there. I'm able to sometimes run a little, recording on my phone of an idea, whether it's on the drums or on the keys, or sometimes I just sing melodies that I hear on top of that. And that's how I come up with either my original music for a 9-piece band or a big band, or when I write.
So I think for me at least, yeah, I got confused when you started playing the drums because I couldn't find the groove until I guess when you started playing on the piano or the keys or whatever. Then I felt, oh, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. But with the drums, I guess I couldn't catch it. Is that uncommon for non-drummers to be a little bit lost if you just start without any kind of chords or melody?
Without a little count off, yeah. So now I'll get the mic on so I can count while I'm playing. So what I was doing was 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1. A lot of triplets, a lot of subdivision, and I'm hitting different parts of the measure. So it's kind of disorienting at first. If you were to hear it like that, yeah, you would be not always oriented where I'm at. But usually I record myself, I practice, I record myself, and then I start layering ideas. And then eventually I go to either the iPad or the computer, and I manage to manually like input everything that I have, the form, the score with all the instruments, and then I can start filling in the lines and the chords, and then I come up with an arrangement.
Fantastic. And can you show us one of the arrangements that
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
done? So this recording that we listened to at the very beginning, we'll get into that in a little bit, but so that was a Grammy-nominated recording of a song by Dolly Parton, I believe. And so we heard a beautiful voice of a singer and this incredible group all coming together like an orchestra. And it seems that it's not the most common to have a drummer doing such an arrangement. Such a successful arrangement.
It's interesting. I never thought of it as that. I just I started writing when I realized I have to make opportunities happen. So I cannot just stay at home and wait for a phone call, or go out there every night to different jazz clubs and and just hope to get a call to play with someone. I had to create opportunities for myself, and I fell in love. I got an assignment to write for a 5-horn project and rhythm section, and that's how I started getting involved with the nonet. I added a horn, and I started writing for 6 horns, and I changed the instrumentation a bunch of times until I found what I liked, and I ended up with trumpet, trombone, bass trombone, alto, tenor, bari sax, piano, bass, and drums. And Nicole Zoridis, my wife, is an incredible vocalist. So she and I collaborate a lot. So I arrange songs that she sings, and she sings in my big band and my nonet, and that's how I kind of started doing it as a way to create shows, create opportunities for us to play, and to get better at arranging and composing.
So your wife was the lovely singer we got to see singing Jolene.
Yeah, that's Nicole.
Congratulations.
She's the real star. I'm just behind the scenes.
So Dan, so yeah, now take us into this. So this arrangement, and that's funny you should say. So your wife Nicole, she's a singer, the lovely voice. Tell us about how that. Most of us, when we think about composing, we think about, well, you're singing a melody. As we just saw, you start with the drums, which kind of seems completely backwards. So tell us about your composition or arranging process.
Well, I started playing with Nicole. We met in 2009 in the city through mutual music friends, musicians, and we started playing together. And I saw what she does, which is she writes her own songs and she writes her own arrangements. But she also didn't go to school for jazz or composing or arranging. We're both two kind of weirdos like that, where we didn't really study that stuff, and we just use our intuition and whatever tools we can, however we can educate ourselves. I mean, I'm surrounded by arranging books and scores and orchestration books and everything, and I try to learn as much as I can on the keyboard, but I don't spend time practicing trying to play keyboard. I just find cool chords and learn how to voice lead. Nicole is kind of the same. She went for an opera degree at NYU, so she was a classical vocalist. So she has all that technique and all that stuff. And then she changed. She started writing songs and playing songs and kind of like noodling on the keyboard, accompanying herself. So we started playing together, and I learned a lot from writing for voice, because there's a tendency to be very busy, very sophisticated, very, very everything in jazz and jazz arrangements that are seeking to reimagine the groove and the time and the harmony and the melody sometimes, and which is good. But I found a way to serve the song better by staying out of the way of the song, respecting the composition as if it was mine, as if I had just written it, and I'm trying to sell it to someone who doesn't know it. So someone who hears Jolene for the first time can hear Jolene in it, and also hear the little extra, the introduction and the lines in between the voice, but you don't get, it doesn't get in the way of the song. And so that's something I learned by writing for voice. And a vocalist will tell you if you're in the way, and if you're trying to be too hip, the vocalist will tell you. And so when I write, even when I write a melody in the big band for, I don't know, 3 trumpets and whatever, I treat that as a vocalist. I'm like, okay, even if I add all the cool trombones at the bottom, playing different hits, coloring different harmony, it will be either between the phrases, kind of like a Sinatra arrangement. You remember, like, fly me to the moon, blah 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 blah, yada 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 yada, whap whap whap. They don't step on the vocalist ever, So this is what I try to do in the way I write for horns and for voice. Did I answer any question? A question at all, or did I just
absolutely okay, got it. So voice is number one.
Yeah, voice is number one. Yeah,
Got it. Okay.
from writing for voice, and also I learned a lot from the band members. I learned most from input by musicians. So I would call rehearsals and readings, and I would just print stuff out, even unfinished stuff, and I would put it in front of musicians, and we would play it in our living room in Brooklyn, and we would fit 6 horns, in Park Slope. We used to live on 5th and 5th in Park Slope, and we would bring a 9-piece band in the living room. We had a little stand-up upright piano, drums, and all the horns and all the like spit that comes out of the trombones and the trumpets and all that, on the floor with the dog in between. And we would just read those charts, and they would say, "Are you sure you want a soprano sax all the way here with this and that?" And I'll be like, I know I'm supposed to say no, but I don't know. So why don't you play it like that and like that and like that, and I'll see if I hear the difference. And that's how I would learn.
Oh, your neighbors must have loved you.
The neighbors, yeah, they knew when it was rehearsal time. You can hear, you can hear it all the way to the street, even with the buses and the cars.
So, Dan, can you show us now? You're on your computer. You've got some of these arrangements.
Yeah, I can share the score, and I can also share. So I'm not sure. Is our audience musicians? Are you musicians?
I believe we have musicians. Are there any? Does anyone want to chime in? Hi, Dr. Davis. You have to unmute yourself first.
Hi, you're all muted, right?
Yeah, that's better. Did you ever hear of Gene Krupa?
Yeah, I had a cassette that my neighbor dubbed for me. It had Gene Krupa, Shelly Manne and his men, and Buddy Rich Orchestra. And one of the tapes was both, I think, or Gene Krupa and another big band battle. Like that's how I started listening to big band.
I grew up with Gene Krupa and people like that in Brooklyn also, by the way.
Oh wow, that's cool. You saw them play? No.
Oh no, I don't play anymore. I used to do violin and then also accordion, but I don't do anything now. I'm too young for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dan, show us a little bit of this arrangement.
Okay, I'll share the screen. Am I allowed to share the screen?
Please.
Will it let me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see what I can share. I can share the score, or I can share a little. Let me share the score. Did I share the score?
Perfect.
Yes. Yep.
I'm trying to find the window. There's so many windows open here. Okay, there's a score. Okay, so you see, briefly what I did is I took the melody of the chorus, which is you see that I put it in the flugelhorn. The Jolene, 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 Jolene. So I took that and then I reharmonized every note in a descending line that goes against it, like a contrary line. You see in the bass here, it starts at D. It all starts at D, and then it just opens up descending line down to a low. What is that? E flat. And then each note. So I started a little sketch. I start on the keyboard, and then as it expands, it goes all the way to flugel, clarinet, trombone, bass trombone, and bass clarinet. And then I basically do that for the whole intro, where I'm passing around the melody from different instruments. So now it starts with flugelhorn, and then the flute comes in with it, and then it's them together again, and then it's clarinet, Jolene, and then it goes to a new intro that I came up with while playing the song as a duet with Nicole, with my wife. So this chart is a rearrangement of her arrangement of Jolene. So she and I were playing this as a duet without all the horns and all that stuff, and she came up with those cool little that groove, that new groove. It's all Nicole, and then I added those lines between the vocal parts. The bridge. This is the chorus. You see the low trombones. Do do do. So while she's singing Jolene, 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 nothing. Only like low bones and rhythm below her. Jolene, and then they play, you know, that new line that I added that's kind of coloring the D minor, but with a 9, and then with the major 7, like a D minor major 7, gotta make it a little more dramatic and dark, because it's a song about jealousy and about heartbreak, and it can't be too far from that. It can't be happy, or it can't be, you know, it has to stay true to the song. I'm
And
happy
what
to
did you
share this.
hear from when you heard it was going to be Grammy nominated? Did they tell you what they found so special about it?
No, they don't tell you anything. We woke up on a Friday morning in December 2018, and someone saw the friends of ours who were following the ballot and all that, told us that we were nominated, and I didn't believe it, and I've been in denial most of the time.
Yeah, so let's hear, Dan, let's have another listen to the intro. And what should we pay attention for again? We should pay attention for that, the flugelhorn line, and then the flute. Listen for the leading voice, is that right?
Yeah, you can basically hear the whole song in the intro, but reimagined.
Okay, let's do it. Let's listen once more.
Are you in charge of that?
Yep, I will put it on right now. So here we go. This is again Dan's arrangement of Jolene.
Your beauty is beyond compare, with flaming locks of autumn hair.
Okay, so fantastic, Dan. Now tell us a little bit about how you spent this time during the COVID pandemic, which happened right after that. So you and Nicole were also organizing your own concerts directly from your house, is that right?
Right. We were playing all our gigs, all our tours, everything, all the momentum that was built with the Grammy and the release of our stuff came to a halt, like everyone else. So, and we just moved out of Brooklyn because of the pandemic. We were freaking out that we're gonna see zombies on the street in Park Slope, and you know, we were so scared. That was, remember that time, March 2020. So March 22nd, we moved out to Connecticut, and we've been there since. And so we felt isolated from the city and disconnected from the scene, and the scene kind of died out during COVID. So we couldn't play and even congregate and jam with people. So we started doing it in the house. So I set up the keyboard and Nicole's microphone in the bedroom with cable and a bunch of screens, and I was running a bunch of screens so we can see each other and in real time. And we were playing duets and taking requests, live requests, at a thing called we called it Virtual Piano Lounge. So we were just taking requests and playing anything, whatever. And we kind of created a community, an online community of people who knew every Friday at, I don't know, 4 p.m., 5 p.m. we were live, and they were cranking us up in their living room and participating and making requests, and it was really, really special.
Dan, and
And
I'm looking right now at your website. Can we hear any of that? Or is that only under the non-net? Love to hear that.
Piano Lounge, it's probably somewhere online. I would have to look for it.
In the meantime, I think we have here the non-net playing Say What? Osnoy?
That's something we did during the pandemic as a remote production. So I arranged this song, this tune. It's an instrumental tune by this guitar player named Osnoy, who was a very active guitar player in the city. And I put it in the software, and then I sent MIDI mockups of the parts and score and parts to my musician friends all over, and we put this together remotely during the pandemic.
Okay, let's have a listen. Wow. So Dan, tell us again how you put this together. That's incredible. Dan, sorry, I think you're muted.
You're right. Sorry, I was sitting there in pajamas. Wow, I can't believe we had no idea what was gonna happen. This was the first thing I did during the pandemic. As a remote recording, I recorded. Well, I wrote the chart, and then I played along to a click, following that chart, and imagining a solo on top. So I had to play the entire form, the entire song, just like, okay, I hope there's a great solo on top of this. And I played the hits and everything, and then I sent it to a bass player with the part, and I wrote all the horn parts also in MIDI in like a computer mock-up, so they can play along to that. And then every time I got a live recording from a musician. I replaced that and took out the mock-up, took up the MIDI, and then little by little, I filled up the whole thing with live musicians instead of the mock-up, the MIDI mock-up, and then I sent it to a mixing guy and a mastering guy, and then the trombone player did that funny that funny edit, that video edit, where you see us on the screens and in Brooklyn, and
Wow.
yeah,
So
we were
that
playing
was
this chart at 55 bar regularly, once a month, and then the pandemic came, and now 55 bar is closed. That club did not survive. It's a very, very famous jazz club in the city that's been around for like 100 years. A little dive bar with a stinky bathroom, and a dripping ceiling.
and you were playing there once a week with those musicians.
We were playing there once a month, or a couple of times a month, with the Nanette, with my big band also, and with Nicole's band. Yeah.
And this brings us to our next topic. So what's it like now? Is everything coming back?
It's coming back. We're both releasing records. Nicole is releasing a record with Christian McBride on bass, Gilad Exelman on guitar, and myself on drums. She released a few singles, and the full record comes out July 7th. And we're playing concerts with her band, which is a jazz quartet. She sings, plays piano. There's a guitar player, bass player, and myself. And we're touring all over. So if you're in the States or in Europe, I think we have some stuff there. You can keep in touch with us via my website or Nicole's website. And I'm releasing a record with my big band, which features original music and my arrangement for full 17-piece orchestra, recorded live in Brooklyn, actually, at the Bunker. And that's coming out February. So whoever wants to check out my website, you can also get this vinyl, which is a live recording of the Nanette with Nicole, recorded in at Pinch, which is in Long Island City. And that's an actual vinyl. So if you go to that website, they'll send you a vinyl. If you're in the States, I don't know if you're in Brooklyn, right? And you can also get my other music. There's a bunch of singles.
This is the Nanette +1. That's what we were listening to. Your Grammy-nominated recording of Jolene is on this one?
Yeah, Jolene is on +1. And that's a
Fantastic.
digital download. You can also stream it on Spotify and Apple Music, or buy the physical CD or whatever. Just get in touch. I'll send you music, whatever. I don't care.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm putting this all of it so that the participants can access it. And then if we'd like to stay in touch with you, Dan, then your website is simply danpugach.com, and we can reach out to you there under contact. Is that right?
Yeah, under contact, or you can find me on any social media that you use.
Okay, fantastic.
Listen to stuff and look at scores, and I can also send you parts if you have an ensemble and you want to play this music, or you're leading a band.
Fantastic.
A bunch of universities and the colleges play that stuff, and high schools also.
So final question then, Dan. So what are you hopeful now? What are you thinking about? It seems like you've already conquered the drums now. That young 10-year-old boy in Israel would be astounded at the success you've had today. What are you looking forward to most in the future?
I think making more music that's meaningful to me is what I want to do, because you can get gigs. If you want to work, you will work. There are endless opportunities out there, and they each lead to different directions. And it's very easy to kind of get lost as a musician trying to survive in the city or around the city, taking every gig, every opportunity, every commission, every grant, every writing opportunity, and then it's easy to get lost. And so this year and last year, and I think next year, both of us are more focused, laser focused on pushing our careers as composers, as band leaders, like we did before the pandemic. It was a little challenge to get out of the pandemic, starting to take gigs, not knowing, oh, is there going to be another shutdown? Is there going to be another thing? And as you know, once the pandemic ended, the war in Ukraine started and affected the economy and gas prices and everything else, which on us musicians, it's really hard to be able to tour and without losing money. It's really hard, especially when expenses are so high. So we're hoping to stay focused and keep recording and releasing our music, and being able to bring it out to the audience, to tour the country and to go to Europe and other places and play live.
Well, your message is that no matter how difficult it is, you got to keep focused. You got to keep going, because the opportunities will come about.
Yeah, some opportunities lead to more of the same, and you may find yourself working yourself to the ground, but going in circles. So what I mean by that is we don't take every gig, and we don't just say yes to everything. We're trying to stay focused and invest more time and effort in our music, rather than just in anything. Just play a gig or just be out there. We're really focused on our thing, booking our tours, playing original music.
Okay.
It's something that we were missing a lot, because the whole pandemic we played covers and we played stuff to, just to play, and now we're more hungry to really get the message out and get original music out there. That's
We will
important.
be listening.
All right.
Dan Pugach, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Do you have questions to me? Do you guys have a question for me, or a comment or anything? No? Okay.
Dr. Davis, you have something? Hi.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting.
Thank you.
Keep Brooklyn going for me, please.
All right.
Okay. So next week on Vienna Live, we have Joe Lovano, the saxophonist, who will be presenting his newest album, Our Daily Bread. So that will be next Wednesday. And again, thank you so very much to Dan Pugach. Thank you very much to Victoria and Frederick Mulligan and Agnieszka and Benoit Rivolet for their support of this show. Most of all, thanks to you, our participants, who make it all worthwhile. From New London, New Hampshire, and New York City, New York, goodbye, and see you next Wednesday.
Thank you so much. Good to meet you all.